So, I've actually been working on my webcomic, Pepto Abysmal, which is a shocker because I haven't touched it in months. But I thought I'd record the process of this page since the way I draw pages are different from how I draw my usual art. I also thought I'd use this video to give advice and tips to those who want to start a comic or are already working on one because I've been asked to do that a few times, so let's hop in, I guess. Okay. So the first thing that I personally think you need to do to start a webcomic is just to go for it. Like, dive in. Just go ham. Just go for it. You'll never get it started if you spend literal years like I did just thinking about it. The first story I ever wanted to make into a comic was Sight, which is a story I've mentioned before. And I've been wanting to do it since I was 12. I'm 20 now, and still the furthest I've gotten is 3 pages, and I have a bunch of first pages that I scrapped and threw out, because I spent so much time worrying that my art wasn't good enough, or I don't know enough about paneling, or proper eye movement for readers, or just whatever. And because of that, Sight's story is still mostly in my head, and I haven't made pretty much any progress on it at all in the past 7 years. 7? 8. 8. I know how to... I'm good at art. I'm not good at math. But Pepto was me forcing my way through a bunch of sketches of pages in the span of like 3 days, and me just yelling to myself that I'm finally gonna make a webcomic! Nothing can stop me! And, I mean, yeah, I go on month-long hiatuses, but that's better than the nothing it would have been if I didn't force the comic out of me in the beginning. But also, some people would like to work with any sense of control and not just the entire chaos that I exist in. So, I guess here's some tips on actual structure on making a webcomic. Let's do it. So, some people say that you need to know your story's beginning, middle, and end, but comic making takes a long time. So, as long as you have a beginning, by the time you're done with that, you might have already come up with more pieces to your story. And if not, it's fine to stop working on it and come back to it later, because in the end, you'll have some pages done, which, again, is more than no pages done. Also, you could fit in no idea of where your story's going as part of the story. Like, hate to bring up Homestuck in 2018, but if I remember correctly, Homestuck started as kind of a, like, choose-your-own-adventure thing, where it starts out with the boy in his room, and then the first ever Homestuck readers would comment, like, what they think his name is, or where they want him to go. And yeah, there was a story underneath that, but it was guided by the readers. So, I don't know, you could do something like that. Or just come up with more ideas, because not every story needs to be completely known and completely down whenever you start on it. Another thing, it's smart to have written down a list of important things you want to remember to include in the story. Like, little side things, little pieces that you're not going to remember. Like, I wanted to have little things in Bucket's house in chapter 1 that would hint to her real name, like maybe the first letter of her name on a plaque in her room or something like that, but I forgot. Whoops, you guys don't even get that hint. And now I have this one little thing that Corey does every once in a while that, since I've made a note of it to put it into the story a few times, she's already done it 3 times and no one's noticed, but, you know, just little things that you'll forget. Also, have the story summarized and written down somewhere, like a Google Doc, just like the basic storyline. Doesn't even need to have, like, just like everything you want to remember, and then have things sectioned off in chapters to go into more detail there whenever you're actually working on the chapters. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, so, here's a little sneak peek at my Pepto notes, I guess. You get that because I'm a little incompetent with explaining things. I have mine written like a script, since I'm much better at dialogue than actually describing things, which I'm also not very good at dialogue, so. But if I have Corey say something in some way, I tend to just be able to look at the line and already know her pose and expression, just because I kind of know how Corey works and I know how Bucket works, so I know how it would work into the story. But some people might need it written down on the side. So it all depends on how you work, and you'll figure it out while working on the comic. I'm saying work way too much. This one's actually kind of important, and it's something that I very much did not do. You gotta find where you want to post your comic and see how the website is formatted. And either fit your comic's dimensions into the website, or find one that fits with how you have it shaped. For Pepto, I really liked how the webcomic Monster Pop by Maya Kern was more wide than long, and I felt like that would work better with the story. But I post to Tapasio, which is formatted for very long comics. So Pepto looks very squished and short because of it, and I had to actually resize all of the chapter 1 pages because it was too wide to actually fit. So that doesn't work out very well. Yeah, I've been working on the format of Pepto to fit into Tapasio a bit better. Like, for chapter 2 and 3, I already have the width resized so that it fits, and now I've been posting 2 or 3 pages every update so that it looks a little bigger. But it would have been better if I would have, thought it through. So do that. Also, figure out what you're using to make the comic. Pen and paper and a ruler is pretty standard, but I do digital, so I can only kind of help with programs. Paint Tool Sai is what I've been using for 7 years, so I'm pretty accustomed to it. But it's also lacking in some things that are very important to webcomics, like straight lines and text. I'm fine with not getting every line for the frames perfectly even, so I use the selection tool and then copy and paste the lines I make with it, like you could see in the beginning of this video. And I handwrite the text. If your program doesn't have things that you need, then either figure out a compromise, like handwriting the text, or find something else to use for what you need. This doesn't mean you can't use the original program. There's a lot of free things on the internet that could help you out. Like, if I wanted to, I could draw out the Pepto pages and then add the text on Pixlr, which is a free website that you can use. That's not sponsoring me, please someone sponsor me. Just do whatever you need to make it work. One thing that's not required, but I highly recommend, is figuring out an easier art style for your comic. One that you're willing to repeat over and over again, that you can do quicker than your usual style. Also, figure out how you're going to draw your comic, and if it's any difference to how you draw everything else. And also, don't be afraid to switch it up or change how you do things, even if it's in the middle of the comic. I started out doing every panel from sketch to line art to color to wording to background. Every single panel individually like that, which made my style change at nearly every panel. So the weird piece-by-piece way that I'm doing now is kind of confusing, but it's fun and it works for me, and I think that it works better for comics. The last thing, and what I think is the most important, is that every page does not have to be a masterpiece. And this is advice that I heard many times, but before I started my comic, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I get what you're saying, but I want every page to be a masterpiece. Now, not so much. I mean, you can see the hands that I'm drawing here. They're really bad, but in the beginning, I wanted everything to be perfect, and I wanted at least one detailed background for every page, because I heard that you're supposed to do that, which, just take everything like that, all the advice for how to make comics as, a suggestion instead of a rule book. But I would get really stressed out. Whenever the pages weren't up to my standards. And because of that, my art would just suck really bad. Because I'd be stressing too much on improving everything and making everything perfect. And because I was also forcing myself on a schedule, I just freaked out a bit. And then I think that was my longest hiatus I had because I was just so overwhelmed by myself. So it was like my own downfall. But this is page 78. I'm tired. So I'm just letting loose. I don't really need everything to be perfect. I just need to get the general emotion down and the words down. The feel for the comic. Just little things like that. I personally see comics as a way to tell a story, and my goal of the comic is to tell that story. Some comics are made to be beautiful or to be prim, proper perfection, but man, I'm not getting paid for this. Tapazio says it's paying me, but that whole system's really weird and I ain't got nothing. I'm just doing this for me and for others to see it for free. I don't need it to be the most perfect thing ever, I just need to tell the story. And I've done a lot of weird backtracks of things where I fixed stuff I didn't like, which made continuity errors like the entire color palette, or Corey's jacket, or Bucket's hair that grew 2 inches in what in the comic is about 2 hours? But that stuff doesn't matter. It's not gonna take away from the story. It's not gonna change everyone's personality or the theme that you get in the end. And hell, if I wind up publishing Pepto, I might go back and fix up chapter 1 and 2, but I'm finally getting into a groove on how to actually work on this comic. It took a while, but I'm here now. And I would have never gotten here if I didn't do that first push into comic making. So, work on that story that you want to work on. Don't be afraid to mess it up because I assure you, you will. But that's part of the fun. Breaking your story to fix it into something better is just kind of how you do it and kind of how you improve. I hope this jumbled mess helped at all. I don't know, I just felt like this was a video that I should make. So, thanks for watching and love you, boos. Hi, this is Nico from the future, and I realized I didn't even plug the webcomic that I was literally drawing for this entire video. It's on Tapazio, it's free to read. It's called Pepto Abysmal. I got a link in the description on all of my videos, except the ones that I forget to put a description for. And it's about these 2 girls who get stuck inside of a store for the zombie apocalypse. They both have to, deal with each other. And it's less about zombies and more about these 2 girls learning how to tolerate each other and slowly falling in love and stuff. So, I mean, it's a good read. I believe. I don't know. I've spent years drawing it, so I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, check it out if you want, and if not, then, well, fuck me, I guess. Don't actually do that.